this is a tutorial for how to do a button band on my cardigans. This is a 1x1 ribbed button band. The first thing you're going to do is cast on an extra stitch, and then you are going to pick up every stitch of the cardigan front opening. Okay, so including your first stitch, you will have picked up an even number of stitches. Not including the first stitch that you cast on, you will have picked up an odd number of stitches. Now you are going to cast on another stitch on the other end as well. And you can do this in any manner that works for you. I just prefer a knitted method. So now we are looking at the back side of our cardigan. Our first 2 stitches will be purls. So I'm going to purl 1 and 2. Now I'm going to work my 1x1 rib pattern to the last 3 stitches. So I've got a knit 1 and a purl 1. Knit 1, purl 1. Okay, so our last 3 stitches, we're going to finish the 1x1 rib pattern in a knit 1, and then we are going to purl the last 2 stitches. Now, the reason we are putting on an extra stitch at the beginning and at the end and working 2 knit stitches on the front side or 2 purl on the back side is because this first stitch and this last stitch will turn under, it will roll under and give you a nice flush finish with your hem. So that is just a little trick to give you a nice flush finish. Otherwise, your first stitch kind of comes up a little bit and you have a little bit of a jog there. So this will mediate having that jog there. So I'm going to do 2 more rows and then I'm going to show you how to do the buttonholes. So on the front side, I'm going to knit 2 and then work my 1x1 rib, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Okay, I've come to the last 3 stitches. I'm going to purl 1 and then knit the last 2. Now you will continue in pattern for as many rows as it tells you to do the button and before you get to the buttonholes. But I'm just going to work 3 here. Okay, so for this swatch, I'm going to do a buttonhole right here. Yeah, okay. All right, so for your buttonhole, you're going to work up to the point where it tells you to work up to, knitting the knits and purling the purls. Okay, and then we are going to Okay, I've worked up to where I'm going to place the buttonhole. The first stitch should always be a knit stitch. So we are going to slip, slip, knit. When I do a slip, slip, knit, I just slip the first stitch and then knit both through the back hole. You can do a traditional slip, slip, knit where you slip both of them and then work them through the back hole. Either way is fine. And then after that, since this is a 3-row buttonhole, we are going to yarn over twice. And then we are going to knit in pattern to our next buttonhole, which you have already placed. We'll do that here. Okay, so I'm going to show it again. You're going to work up to, and it should be a knit stitch. You're going to slip, slip, knit. I'll show you this one the other way. And then yarn over twice. Then you are going to continue in pattern. I'll show it one more time. So you are going to slip, slip, knit, and then yarn over twice. Make sure you knit those last two. Okay, so now we're going to work back across, and we are going to, I'll show you how to work the buttonholes on the wrong side. So we are going to start with a purl 2, and then a knit 1, purl 1. Now, when we get to the buttonhole, you have 2 yarn overs. You're only going to work through one of them, so you will knit it, you will drop the other, and then you will go back to your purl knit pattern. Okay, we're going to come up to the other one. And we have 2 yarn overs. We are going to knit that, drop the second, and continue in pattern. One more time. We are going to knit it, drop the second, and continue in pattern. All right, now this is the 3rd row where you contend with the buttonholes. So this time we are going to knit up to our buttonhole working in pattern. So you will knit the knits and purl the purls. Okay, now we are where our buttonhole is. So what you're going to do is purl through the actual buttonhole itself, and that will catch all of those stitches. It will give you a nice tidy finish to your 3-row buttonhole. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the buttonhole as if to purl and purl it and continue in pattern. I think we have one more to do. Okay, again, it is a purl stitch. We will go under through the buttonhole itself and pull that through and continue in pattern. So now we have nice large open buttonholes, and once it is blocked, they will be very invisible but very spacious for your larger buttons. Okay, I'm going to show you how to bind off, because the bind off is a little bit different because of the knit twos on each end. So give me just a moment to work back across, and then I will show you how to bind off. Okay, so we have cut our tail 3 times the length of our work, and I'm going to thread the tail. And the way we are going to work this is we are going to treat these first 2 stitches and these last 2 stitches as one stitch. So when you normally do an Italian bind off, if your first stitch is a knit stitch, you're going to go in it as if to purl. So we are going to go into both of these stitches as if to purl. And then we are going to come up from the back and we are going to go through the second stitch as if to knit, which is technically the 3rd stitch. But we're treating those first 2 stitches as one. So now you can do your Italian bind off repeat, which is knit through the first stitch, drop it, and then we are going to purl through the second stitch on the needle, this first stitch is a little fiddly, but once you get it, it works nice. Okay, so now we are going to purl through the first stitch and drop it off, come up between the first and second stitch, and pull, and then we're going to go down through the second stitch as if to knit. So knit, drop, purl, purl, drop, and then knit. Knit, drop, purl, oops, purl, drop, and then knit. Knit, drop, purl, purl, drop, knit. Knit, drop, purl, purl, drop. And some people will do this next step as one. I personally don't like doing it this way because it has too much tension on the thread, the yarn, but you can do it as one step, and I'll show that again. So knit, drop, purl, and then purl, drop, and then we can do this one step, or this next step as one, and that would be our knit. And I'll show you again. Knit, drop, purl, purl, drop, and knit. Some yarns have more texture to them than others, and you can just tell by the feel. This one's not doing that bad. So if it feels like there's a lot of friction on your yarn doing it that way, then yeah, I would do it in 2 steps, coming up and then down as if to knit. But if you don't have a lot of friction going on, you can do it in 1 step. And we are almost to the end, and I can show you how to do those last 2 stitches. Okay, so normally we would treat these two as one, and you can do that. But since we have an extra stitch, this is how I like to do the end. So I'm going to, I knit that first stitch and dropped it off. Now I'm purling through the second. Now I'm going to purl through the first and drop it. Then I'm going to come up between those last two stitches, but the difference is I'm going to go down both of them as if to knit. And then when you go to weave in your ends, you have a nice finish, a nice Italian bind off. And this is probably not the best yarn to show an Italian bind off with, because it does have such a tight twist. The stitches go a little textured, but that is how you will do a buttonhole. And if you will notice, my button band is nice and flush, and this is before blocking. Because we did that extra stitch on each end, we have a nice flush finish straight across. That first stitch rolls to the back, and when you block it, these knit stitches will block out nice and even, and you'll have a nice finish to your button band. So I hope this has been helpful for you.